This guy bought a car and wanted a refund, except the dealership said no, so he took matters into his own hands. These guys wanted to rob some spring breakers, except they decided to fight back. This guy did things that were so vile, his own son turned him in. And did these vigilantes actually catch the right culprit in dishing out their own version of street justice? Let's get right into the worst types of people we really need out of society. Starting with number 6, push to start tantrum. Police arrested 35-year-old Michael Murray after a dispute over a car he had recently purchased, finding plenty wrong with it once he got it home. When the dealership refused to take it back, he decided to make a statement by driving it straight through their front door. Murray had bought the car earlier that morning, but within hours he discovered that it had mechanical issues. So he demanded a refund. But the dealership management refused, explaining that they told him they were selling the car as is and that it required additional work, something they claimed had been made clear before the sale. But Murray wasn't having any of that kind of rational explanation and warned them that if they didn't give him his money back, he would return the car anyway, right through the front door. When they still refused, he followed through on his threat. Surveillance footage captured the moment as the car smashed through the glass entrance, sending employees scrambling. About 7 salespeople in the area at the time, but fortunately, no one was injured. The crash caused extensive damage, far exceeding initial estimates, with the dealership reporting over $85,000 in losses. Tyler Slade, a platform manager at the dealership, recalled the chaos as employees rushed to get out of the way just before impact. He maintained that the dealership had been upfront about the car's condition, explaining that it wasn't a standard retail vehicle, required repairs, and was priced to match Murray's budget constraints. Now facing felony charges for criminal mischief and reckless endangerment, Murray has since spoken out, admitting that he lost control of his emotions in the heat of the moment. He described reaching a breaking point, acting impulsively, and barely registering what he was doing until it was too late. As of the release of this video, Murray has most likely been bailed out of jail and may be looking at up to 15 years in prison if convicted. While frustration over car trouble is understandable, crashing through a dealership's front door was only going to make the situation worse. Let's be real. Used car salesmen aren't exactly known for their honesty. But if Murray was told the car was being sold as is, which something everyone knows is code for there's a whole lot wrong for it, then that's on him. But instead of handling it like a big boy, he threw a full-blown tantrum. Society already has enough crybabies. We don't need another one crashing through storefronts because they made a stupid purchase. Number 5. Spring Break Avengers. Faced with an armed man demanding their valuables, most people might panic. But 4 Indiana spring breakers chose courage over chaos. Instead of escalating the situation, they fought back with quick thinking and restraint, successfully fending off the would-be robber at a Florida gas station. Brothers Alec and Jacob Tanus, along with their cousins Alex and Eric Wisby, had been enjoying a night out in South Beach when their spring break took a dangerous turn. Rather than panicking or escalating the situation, they instinctively worked together to disarm the mugger. When the armed assailant pressed a firearm into Alec Tanus' stomach, Alex Wisby immediately put the man in a chokehold, while Jacob Tanus attempted to seize the firearm. As they wrestled on the ground, a second person jumped in, pushing Jacob off. Despite the chaos, the spring breakers remained composed, subduing the first suspect, while Eric Wisby managed to gain control of the firearm. But instead of using it against their muggers, he made a simple demand: leave and get a job. This level-headed response exemplifies the kind of people we need more of in society. Instead of responding with unnecessary force, they focused on self-defense and de-escalation. Eric Wisby later explained his reasoning, recognizing that their muggers were someone's sons, brothers, or even fathers. Their restraint in such a high-stakes moment prevented the situation from ending in tragedy. The suspects fled the scene, with one later arrested, while the spring breakers walked away with minor injuries. Their actions demonstrated courage, unity, and most importantly, responsibility. Rather than giving the robbers some street justice, they neutralized the threat and ensured everyone, including their muggers, lived to see another day. These are the people society should celebrate, those who stand up for themselves while keeping their humanity intact. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button and make sure you click on the subscription bell to turn on all notifications so you don't miss anything from us. Number 4, 911 misdirection. In an unusual case out of Macomb County, Michigan, a woman was accused of making a false 911 call in an apparent attempt to help her fiancé avoid a traffic stop. Deputies had pulled over Devin Douglas for, very stupidly, driving without his headlights on. Upon investigation, officers discovered he was driving with a suspended license and had an outstanding arrest warrant for fraud. Then, out of nowhere, a 911 call reported an armed robbery just down the road. How convenient, right? Deputies immediately abandoned the traffic stop and raced to the scene with lights and sirens, only to find nothing. After further investigation, authorities traced the call back to Tressa Williams, Douglas's fiancée and the mother of his child. The call was deemed a swatting attempt, a tactic used to send a large police response to a specific location, in this case, to divert officers from the traffic stop. Williams was arrested and charged with filing a false report of a felony, a crime that carries a potential 4-year prison sentence. She was later released on a $5,000 personal bond. Douglas, however, downplayed the situation, dismissing it as just a phone call and insisting Williams would be fine. The Macomb County Sheriff's Office criticized the act, pointing out the significant waste of police resources. Officers responded to a fake emergency under high-speed conditions, putting both law enforcement and the public at unnecessary risk. Meanwhile, Douglas's vehicle was impounded due to his suspended license, and he may face additional charges for driving illegally. As of the release of this video, there are no public details on whether Williams or Douglas have faced any formal punishment beyond their initial charges. Authorities haven't disclosed any further legal proceedings in the case. It's weird that Douglas acts like Williams just made a phone call, as if she's in trouble for simply using her phone. What she did pulled resources in a significant way. Sure, the police might not have been diverted from anything urgent this time, but that's not really the point, is it? When people call 911, it's because they really need help. Thankfully, nothing bad happened, but that little stunt could have easily cost someone their life. Society doesn't need people like this putting everyone else at risk for their own selfish reasons. Number 3, son turns his pervert dad into the police. Authorities in Kenneth City, Florida, arrested 63-year-old Gene Fallon after his own son turned him in for possessing some disturbing content. The problem was, the account had been disabled due to violations involving inappropriate material featuring minors. Yeah, the worst type of things. While investigating the issue, Jared reportedly uncovered nearly 1,000 files containing illicit content stored on his father's phone. So he made a really tough and undoubtedly right decision, and he reported his discovery to the police. A month after Jared's report, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children flagged Fallon's Google account for uploading similar material, prompting further investigation by authorities. A detective traced the flagged content to Fallon's account and obtained a search warrant, revealing that over the course of 18 months, hundreds of explicit images had been uploaded. Police later recovered 952 files from Fallon's Google account, confirming the disturbing nature of the material. Fallon allegedly admitted to knowingly possessing the images. As a result, he was charged with 20 counts of possession of illegal content involving minors, each charge classified as a second-degree felony. He was booked into jail on a $100,000 bond and later released on bond. If convicted, each charge could carry a sentence of up to 15 years in prison. You can't help but feel sorry for Jared. Making that kind of discovery about your own father had to be devastating. But we have to respect him, because no matter how right he knew it was to turn his father in, it couldn't have been easy. He showed real integrity, and society needs more people like that, and a whole lot fewer like his terrible father. Number 2, in-law family conspiracy. Matthew Rastelli thought he was making a last-ditch effort to save his marriage. His wife, Catherine, had left California and taken their children to Utah under the pretense of needing space. But Matthew wasn't giving up. Totally unaware, she really wanted a divorce. He made the long drive to see her, calling multiple times along the way, likely hoping for reconciliation. What he didn't realize was that he wasn't heading toward a reconciliation at all. He was heading into a trap. Catherine, her mother Tracy Grist, and her brother Kevin Ellis had been planning this for weeks. Catherine had helped Matthew plan his route, gave him the gate code to her mother's home, and even put out cardboard at his request so his truck wouldn't leak oil in the driveway. Meanwhile, she and her family tracked his every move using an AirTag hidden in his truck. When Matthew arrived, instead of a conversation, he was ambushed. Kevin Ellis later claimed self-defense, insisting Matthew had come at him with a knife. Catherine's reaction was basically a neon sign admitting guilt. She wasn't shocked, grieving, or even remotely upset that someone she once loved had been hurt in her mother's driveway. Instead, she was relieved, even telling a friend she was happy Matthew was gone. Within days, she was already going on a date and acting as if nothing had happened. Meanwhile, her mother made an even more disturbing remark, telling a friend she would have taken a picture of Matthew if she had known they were into true crime. The family's arrogance over the whole thing is unreal. Investigators uncovered that this plan had been in motion for weeks, all centered around one goal: keeping their children in Utah. Catherine and Tracy had been researching custody laws, searching for ways to prevent Matthew from taking the kids back to California where they lived. They exchanged messages, strategizing how to get him to Utah, with Tracy even suggesting Catherine fake an injury to avoid making the trip herself. But their plan wasn't as flawless as they thought. The staged self-defense claim fell apart quickly. Digital evidence was everywhere: AirTag tracking, text messages, search histories, and every breadcrumb they left behind. Then there was the knife. When police found Matthew, it was in his right hand. The problem? He was left-handed. It sounds like the kind of mistake from some 80s cop movie. Like the grizzled, loose cannon detective goes home after getting kicked off the case and was like, wait, why wasn't the knife in the other hand? And the whole case blows wide open. That's almost exactly what happened when they realized the knife had been deliberately placed in Matthew's non-dominant hand after the fact, a pathetic attempt to justify what happened. As of this video's release, Kevin Ellis has been ordered to stand trial on multiple charges. The court found the self-defense claim unconvincing, noting that inconsistencies, especially the misplaced knife, suggested a staged scene. The preliminary hearing for Catherine Restelli and Tracy Grist is scheduled for early 2025. All three defendants are awaiting trial. This was a brutal, senseless scheme, all because Catherine selfishly didn't want to go through a divorce or custody battle. And seriously, no one wants to do that. And now their children have lost both parents. Their lives permanently changed by something that never needed to happen. Number 1. Vigilante justice. Authorities in Enid, Oklahoma have charged 4 individuals in connection with the disappearance of Colby Shepard, who was reported missing. Investigators allege Shepard was lured to a house where Victor Botello was waiting. Shepard was severely hurt and ultimately didn't survive. And all because the suspects believed he had information about the disappearance of his ex-girlfriend, Victor's sister, Kendra Botello. Shepard was last seen at a local Pizza Hut in December 2023. A couple of days earlier, he had told his mother he planned to meet up with a girl, but it's unclear if that meeting ever happened. He was also scheduled to appear in court days later, but never showed for that either. His vehicle was found the next day, but there was no sign of him. Apparently, Shepard had received letters from an inmate warning him that people were after him and urging him to leave town. The investigation took a turn when an acquaintance provided information linking Shepard's last known location to the home of Charles Jordan, one of the suspects. The acquaintance said that Heaven Jordan had lured Shepard to the residence, where he was savagely hurt by Victor Botello and others. Shepard was allegedly targeted because the suspects believed he knew what had happened to Kendra Botello, who had been missing since July of 2022. However, police said there's no evidence linking Shepard to her disappearance. Witnesses gave conflicting accounts of Shepard's fate, but one inmate claimed Charles Jordan admitted that another person was responsible, saying they acted out of frustration after hearing Shepard moaning. Jordan allegedly attempted to pay an inmate to help move the body, but instead, the inmate tipped off authorities, leading them to the storm cellar where remains were found wrapped in a tarp. As of the release of this video, the suspects, Victor Botello, Charles Jordan, Devin Harris, and Heaven Jordan, are all facing first-degree charges and are awaiting trial. Investigators say Harris admitted to standing guard outside the residence, but denied participating in what happened inside. The investigation into Kendra Botello's disappearance remains active. Shepard had a documented history of getting physical against her, with an incident reported in June of 2022. But the case was later dismissed when Botello failed to appear in court. Except this was months after she had already been reported missing. Police continued to seek information about her whereabouts. What do you think about Victor and his crew, or vigilantes as a whole? On one hand, it certainly looks like Shepard may have been involved in Kendra's disappearance. If she was in danger and Shepard had answers, Victor might have believed he could get the information needed to save his sister's life, if she's even still alive. Sometimes the limits of the legal system mean that those who might be guilty are never held accountable. On the other hand, countless books, movies, and real-world cases have shown how easily vigilante justice can go wrong. Acting on emotional assumptions with permanent consequences is never a good idea. And, as flawed as the criminal justice system may be, it at least has safeguards in place to minimize or correct its mistakes, something vigilantes don't have. Do the ends justify the means? If a life is saved, or if someone truly deserved what they got, does that make it acceptable? Vigilantes are judged only by their results. Should society accept that? Tell us your thoughts in the comments below. Click to watch one of these next videos.